All right, folks, I want to talk to you about how to permanently remove a charge-off stain from your credit report. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you're all doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous. If you are to ask me, if you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. In today's conversation, I want to explain to you how to permanently remove a charge-off blemish from your credit report. It's really important because a charge-off, which refers to an unpaid debt, is among the most damaging negative items on your credit report. Your debt may be written off, but guess what? That doesn't mean the obligation goes away. A charge-off on your credit report signals to potential lenders that you are a risky borrower, so getting a charge-off removed from your credit report could help you qualify for better rates, better loans when it comes to credit cards and loans, right? A charge-off is when you stop paying off a debt and the creditor records your account as a lost cause. It's really rare to have creditors or credit reporting agencies remove a charge-off from your credit report, but you can either pay the charge-off amount in full or settle the debt. So you only have that duality, those two options. And the thing that happens here is that when you haven't paid on an account for 6 months to a year, a credit card issuer or a lender will often mark your account as a charge-off. This means what? It means that the creditor has determined it will likely never collect your debt. It considers the debt a business loss, and the company can write off debt at tax time. Creditors, especially in our analysis, we've seen that creditors, especially credit card companies and lenders, they don't love that option. They don't love to charge off a debt because they don't have the option of repossessing your car or foreclosing on your house, right? So they would rather much you pay them than default. So it's very important to understand that you have two categories of charge-offs. So there are the paid charge-off and the unpaid. So if you have paid the charge-off account in full, the credit bureaus will mark the account as paid. If you haven't, it will remain marked as unpaid. And your credit score, and this is something that's very, very important, your credit score will have a devastating dent. A charge-off account on your credit report will devastate your FICO score. A single charge-off can cause your credit score to drop 100 points or more. It's a big deal, folks. It's a big deal. You can see on the screen here we have a snapshot courtesy of bettercreditblog.org that shows you the devastating effect that a charge-off can have on your credit report. And one thing I want to say here is that a charge-off can remain on your credit report for 7 years and then it's automatically deleted. Okay, so this is according to the law. So 7 years is the cutoff. One thing I want to say here is that if you believe the charge-off on your credit report is a mistake, you can immediately initiate a dispute investigation online with the credit reporting agency, whether it is Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion. You should also notify the creditor that you are disputing the charge-off. You will need to gather documentation such as proof of payments or evidence of identity fraud to support your dispute. All right, so you can't just like write them a letter and they'll just remove stuff. No, if you write a letter that is not backed up, that is not substantiated, they will treat, by they I mean the credit reporting agencies, they will treat your request as frivolous, and you don't want that because that will actually put even a bigger stain on your credit report. Okay, so if you believe it's a mistake, then you can actually fight it. And how can you negotiate a charge-off removal? If the charge-off is correct, you can sometimes negotiate a repayment plan. It's rare to have a legitimate charge-off removed from your credit report, but based on our analysis, it is possible to request that during, you can request a permanent charge-off removal during negotiations. It's all about having a conversation. You want to initiate a conversation with the lender, okay? And if you have an unpaid charge-off, there are no tax implications when you file your tax return. However, this changes if you successfully negotiate a charge-off settlement for less than the full amount of your debt. So if you settle, let's say you settle your debt after a charge-off, you would be issued a 1099-C, that's the form, a 1099-C form from the creditor as long as the amount paid to the creditor or collector includes a savings of the balance of $600 or more. So let's say you owe $10,000 and they gave you, and you settle the debt for $7,000. So that's a gain for you, quote unquote gain for you, for $3,000, right? So that's above the $600 threshold. So you would receive a 1099-C at the end of the year. One thing that's very important is that please do not ignore a charge-off. As I told you before, a charge-off is a serious financial problem that can hurt your ability to qualify for new credit. The decrease of 100 points or more is huge. Many lenders, especially mortgage lenders, will now lend to borrowers with unpaid charge-offs and will require that you pay in full before they approve you for a loan. While you may not be able to remove a legitimate charge-off from your credit report, finding a way to pay off the debt partially or in full is an important step toward rehabilitating your credit. Okay, and based on our research, the biggest benefits of paying in full or settling a charge-off is that you will not be sued for the debt and you stop accruing interest on the debt. In addition, you should feel a sense of accomplishment that you close the loop on that problem and that you will avoid repeating your mistake in the future. So now let me give you a step-by-step that will help you permanently remove a charge-off stain from your credit report. Step number 1, you need to determine who owns the debt. It's very important. You got to collect all the charge-off debt details. If you find a stain, a blemish on your credit report, you better know where it came from, right? So this includes you having information about who owns the debt, how much it is, and how old it is. You will need to negotiate with the entity that owns the debt. If your debt has been passed on to a collection agency, you will not be able to negotiate with the original lender. So it's better to talk to the entity who owns the debt. You can only negotiate with the current creditor, not the original bank or lender. Don't waste your time talking to the wrong person, folks. No. Debt collectors are legally not allowed to lie to you, so you can ask them if their company owns the debt or someone else owns it. And creditors want to talk to you if you let them know you want to discuss a debt settlement. So you want to make things clear from the get-go. Don't waste your time. Don't waste their time. Just put all your cards on the table. Be straightforward with them. Tell them what you want to do. If you want to settle the debt, let's say you want to settle the debt for 75%, 50%, 60%. You just want to have a clear conversation from the get-go and be clear and objective. Step number 1, determine who owns the debt. Step number 2, you want to find out other details about the debt. So after you have information about the owner of the debt, you want to know other stuff. And this is kind of critical because this will help you negotiate better. Your ability to negotiate depends in part on how old the debt is, right? The size of the balance, and whether the creditor thinks you have the means to pay. So this is the conversation where this is a dialogue where every party is gauging the other party's strengths and weaknesses, right? So debt collectors can pull your credit report and see if you have another way to pay, such as an open credit card account with an available balance. If the debt is owned by a collection agency, that probably means the agency purchased it for a small percentage of the balance, and they may be willing to accept less money from you. Okay, and keep in mind that you can dispute a charge-off account if you believe it's been reported in error. As I said earlier, it is possible. Federal law allows you to initiate a dispute with a credit bureau that's reporting information you believe to be inaccurate. And the credit bureau, whether it is Experian, TransUnion, or Equifax, then has to investigate your claim, and if there is an error, correct it or remove it. Step number 3, you need to use the advanced method to dispute the charge off. What is the advanced method? This is an interesting concept that we have actually uncovered during our research. Let's say if you don't have the money, let's say you don't have the money to pay the balance in full, or you can't get the original creditor to remove the charge off from your credit report. It's time to dispute the negative entry using a more advanced method. So to dispute the entry, you'll first need a copy of your current credit report. Okay, again, you got to have a credit report and it has to be current. Don't rely on the credit report that you had 3 months ago or 6 months ago. No, you need to invest in this strategy. So you got to have everything recent. You can get a free copy of your credit report once a year, so you don't even need to pay for it. You have to visit a website called annualcreditreport.com, to get a free credit report from TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. And we will always advise people to actually let 4 months, let like an interval of 4 months between each credit card, each credit report upload. So you can actually get a free credit report 3 times a year. Once from TransUnion, and after 4 months, another one from Experian, another 4 months, another one from Equifax. So when you have your credit reports in hand, find the charge-off entry and look at every detail to ensure everything is completely accurate. This is what I'm talking about when I mean advanced method. I want you to sit down, sip whatever you want to sip, tea, coffee, vodka, whatever, if you are in that kind of, that's what really makes you happy. But look at every single detail to ensure everything is completely accurate. The key here is to be very thorough, to be very specific. If anything is inaccurate, you have the right to dispute the entire entry. Let me repeat that. If anything is inaccurate on your credit report, you have the right to dispute the entire entry, not just that little, not that little thingy, not just that little small item, the whole item. Here are a few details that you should be verifying are accurate: the account number, the creditor name, the open date, the charge-off date, the payment history, the borrower names, and the balance. If you find any information that is not correct, write a letter to each of the 3 credit bureaus listing the inaccurate information and stating you have found incorrect information that needs to be corrected or removed. If the credit reporting agencies cannot verify the entry, they will have to correct or remove the charge-off in compliance with the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Sometimes the information simply cannot be verified and the entry will be removed. Do know, however, that if the charge-off is reported accurately, disputing it will not help. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. I'm having a little chat with you today about how to permanently remove a charge-off stain from your credit report. And I've already given you a three steps. Let's move on to step number 4. If you want to permanently remove a charge-off from your credit report, step number 4, offer a settlement amount. Okay, we actually suggest offering to pay 25% of your large balance as a starting point, acknowledging that the agency will likely want you to pay much more. If the balance is small, such as $300 or $400, the agency is likely to require payment in full. Debt settlement typically has a negative impact on your credit score. You have to know that. And how negative depends on many factors. So the current condition of your credit, the reporting practices of your creditors, the size of the debts being settled, whether your other debts are in good standing, how much less than the original balance the debt is settled for, and a multitude of other variables. Okay, don't forget the fiscal part of things. I've already told you before, when you settle debts, you have in essence an accounting gain, right? You have a savings, but you have a gain, and the IRS wants to make sure that you don't forget about him if that gain is above $600, because you will receive a 1099-C form, 1099-C from the creditor, and you have to pay taxes on that quote-unquote gain, that accounting gain. It's not a gain per se because you didn't get the money. It's not a monetized gain, right? It's an accounting gain. So because you have a reduction in your expenses, that means you have a gain. And one thing I also need to specify here is that people always ask what sort of debts you should settle. It really depends. You can settle any debts. You can settle any debts. You can settle a credit card debt. You can settle a personal loan, a term loan. It really depends on you. And one thing I also want to say here is that debt settlements work in a very specific way. You can negotiate a debt settlement arrangement directly with your lender, or you can seek the help of a debt settlement company. It really depends on you. We've covered the topic of debt settlement companies on other shows, but you can actually do it yourself. You can DIY everything. You know, if you have the time, you have the expertise, you understand the subtleties of debt management, of charge-off removal, all that kind of stuff, because there are some legal I would say legal implications for certain cases depending on your situation. So if you're comfortable with that, then go ahead and do it yourself. Step number 5, folks. You have to request something called a pay for delete agreement. What is that? You could actually try negotiating with a creditor or debt collector to update or remove the charge-off account from your credit file. This is called pay for delete. And essentially, you're asking for the account to be removed from your credit reports in exchange for a fee. So in essence, what you're doing here is that you are negotiating a pay for delete arrangement. And this means that your repayment is contingent on the removal of the charge-off from your credit report. But one thing I want to say, based on our research, this scenario happens very, very, very infrequently. Pay for delete arrangements are legal under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, but there are a few things to know. First, creditors are not obligated to honor your request and remove charge-offs from your credit. So while you can ask for a pay for delete, there is actually no guarantee that a creditor or debt collector will agree to it. Okay, that's number one. Number two, if they do agree, you'll likely need to pay the full account the account in full. However, if an account has been delinquent for some time, as we all know, people go through stuff, people have issues, whatever, right? So if that account has been delinquent for some time, the creditor may be willing to accept a settlement in which you pay less than the full amount. Either way, you will almost certainly have to pay something toward the debt. Okay, and it really depends upon what really works for you. It's all about your personal situation. And there are alternatives to pay for delete. Because of the downsides of a pay for delete, there are better ways to solve this issue. If you want to remove a charge-off stain from your credit report, you can dispute the error. I said that before. You can actually dispute the error. You can write a letter. There are a lot of templates on the internet though, but please don't go for those samples, those templates. You need to write an actual letter. It has to be specific to your case. It has to be bespoke. You can't just have a generic letter and send it to the credit bureau. They will know because they have software. They've been doing this for years, for decades even. They have software that will actually filter your letter to see if this is a generic letter or just a customized letter. So please write an actual letter. That's the first alternative. You can also request that the debt be verified. So under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, debt collectors are required to provide proof that you truly owe the debt in question. So within the first 5 days of contacting you, the collector must provide a debt validation letter, which will state your right to dispute the debt within 30 days. You must do so in writing, okay? And after that, the collector must then prove it owns the debt, you owe the debt, what you owe, and other details. If the collection agency is not able to provide that information, you're now required to pay and could dispute the error to have it removed from your credit report. And that's the second alternative. The third alternative, you can pay the bill even without a pay for delete offer. If your financial situation has improved, just pay the bill. Or the fourth option rather, just wait it out. Just wait it out. Step number 6, and this is important. I don't care whatever agreement you reach with the debt collector or with the debt owner. Please get the entire agreement in writing. You want to send a letter to remove charges from your credit reports. Okay, and basically I'm actually showing you right now on the screen a simple letter to remove a charge-off from your credit report. And this charge-off can actually go to a credit report, a credit bureau. It can go to Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion, and or the lender or the debt owner. Okay, and just understand that you can use this letter to negotiate a complete removal or paid as agreed on a debt that states charge-off or is seriously past due on your credit report. So you put the date, you put the original creditor or the name of the collection agency, right? If the account was sold, you put the creditor address. You can see on the screen, folks. And for the reference, you can put the account. Example, this could be a Citibank, MasterCard, or you can put the account number, full account number. And if you're contacting a collection agency, include the original account number, that is the MasterCard or the Visa card number in the case, and also include any account number assigned by the collection agent. So you have to put 2 account numbers, okay? And this number will be on one of your collection letters. The whole idea is to make your case number be found quickly. And so this is, so the letters goes in a very simple way like this. You know, dear Cyril, ma'am, you know, after reviewing my credit report, blah blah blah, I found this, blah blah, and I'm willing to pay X payments a month, right? And you can see the letter. I will just put the letter on the screen. You can see here. And please, at the end of the day, do not forget to put your first and last name. You put your street address, your city, state, and zip code. Very important. And remember that any negotiation should be confirmed in writing. So the creditor should clearly state that you don't owe more money, that collection activity will cease, and that your credit reports will all three agencies will be updated with a zero balance. Okay, so a pay for delete arrangement or any other debt settlement arrangement is legal under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. However, the lender, as I said, they're not obligated to honor the request, and they don't have to remove a charge-off from your account. But if they do, if they accept to do it, make sure they put everything in writing. Okay, and they have to send everything to you on the company's letterhead. So this includes the amount you will go in to pay, that you will not owe anymore after you make the payments, and that the creditor intends to remove the charge-off from your credit reports. Remember, it has to be on company letterhead. All right, folks, this was it for today's conversation. I was just explaining to you how to permanently remove a charge-off stain from your credit report. So first, you need to determine who owns the debt. Number 2, you need to find out other details about the debt. Number 3, you need to use the advanced method to dispute the charge-off. Number 4, offer a settlement amount. Number 5, request a pay for delete agreement. Number 6, last but not the least, get the entire agreement in writing. Thanks so much for your attention, folks. I really appreciate it. I will see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.